Hi everyone, so James here from Salesbuildr. I'm at the Ultimate IT Growth Conference and we've been listening to a wide variety of talks here that have been given plenty of value. And Brian Galke was the keynote speaker for the event, and I have to say I didn't quite appreciate from looking at the agenda what the topic was going to be about. And I was guilty of reading actually the title and thinking, I'm not sure, I'm going to be a bit cynical about this one. It's essentially face reading. But Brian, I had to follow you, apart from anything else, with my talk, but it was absolutely mind-blowing. So perhaps you could, would you mind just introducing yourself? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Brian Galke, and but everybody knows me as Subtle Skills, and the reason why Subtle Skills is because when I got started, I still had a corporate job, but I wanted to start teaching this to other people at the same time, and I also had imposter syndrome. So the reason the company's called Subtle Skills is because the things that helped me out the most in life were these little skills. I took body language, face reading, you name it. So I
What prompted that? What made you get on that route?
Sure, so being an introvert by nature. So I love to be around people, but I was terrified to be around people at the same time. So like I'll still to this day, I'll go work from Starbucks, hence coffee, and but I don't have to talk to anybody in the coffee shop. But if you want to, like the worst thing for me would be put me in solitary confinement. Like I just have to be around people, you know, but I don't. So I get my energy from people, but I don't have to necessarily talk to people.
Yeah, I'm with you totally.
I became, what does every good introvert do? I read books, took classes, and I learned to study other people because it's like, I can't freestyle dance. However, I took salsa lessons and now I can dance, right? So it's like once somebody gave me a structure or a framework, then life became easier. And in 2010, here in Dallas, a friend came from out of town and she introduced me to a guy. She's like, yeah, come meet this guy. I'm like, why? She goes, he reads faces. I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna do that. And I went, and the guy won me over, and I thought, okay, I'm still skeptical.
What was he doing at the time? How did he was just telling you about it? Or?
No, he was a speaker at a different conference, she was here as a vendor, so kind of like exactly how we're meeting right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, come meet this guy. I'm like, well, I've never heard of this. And I've had body language books, how to win friends and influence people, you know, you name it.
Yeah.
And so I was skeptical, but he won me over. I'm like, all right, I'll kind of test this. And over the next year, I would drive from Dallas to Fort Worth. It's 45 minutes, and I'd study with him in a group setting. And I bought a book and flashcards and stuff, and I started testing it. I realized it works. And the best part was, kind of like body language, you don't have to tell anybody what you're doing, but it was just helping me a little bit more, because when I'm focused on, like, for example, right now, when I look at the camera, I'm thinking about the camera, not thinking about what do I look like in the camera. I'm thinking, look at the camera. It's the same way with people.
Yes.
So when I learn to focus on other people, I learn to get out of my own way. Because as an introvert, you're in the prison of your own mind, but in a public setting. Because I'm always thinking, what am I say? What should I say? Am I saying it right? But when I'm focused on
That's detracting
exactly.
from your personality and what you've got to offer.
Yes, and so you become more of a reclusive inside yourself. But when I'm focused on you, I'm not thinking about me. So yeah.
That makes total sense. That's brilliant. So our audience is MSPs, and often it'll be people within sort of sales roles. So you come from a sales background, and you managed to utilize this. I mean, there's no way we can do this justice in the short space of an interview. But can you give us a little bit of insight as to? Well, I mean, I think the fact that you condensed it down to the eyebrow assessment analysis.
Yes.
If we can give the audience a flavor of that, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, so the first thing is very easy for your audience. They can go to getthecheatsheet.com for everything we're going to talk about.
All right, great.
So if you go to getthecheatsheet.com, it'll take you to learnsubtleskills.com, but nobody can spell subtle, so I bought Get the Cheat Sheet. But there's three basic shapes of eyebrows. Okay, there's straight eyebrows, get straight to the point, like the eyebrows he has. There's angled eyebrows, like I have, which are angled eyebrows are what's my angle, help me understand it. Then there's rounded eyebrows are I think about the people around me first and myself second. So when you're looking at someone, this was the beauty of it. All the skills we talked about before are all reactive skills, meaning I have to wait for you to move, like body language, right? I have to sit and go, okay, did he cross his arms? Did he uncross his arms? But
in the moment as well.
Exactly, in the moment. But with understanding how to decode facial features, you can go look them up on LinkedIn or social media. And then even before I meet them, I'm starting to think, how would they best understand my pitch? So I changed my PowerPoint from, are they, if it's straight eyebrows, facts, figures, data.
You had three decks for each?
I did for when I was going to meet with customers, because I wasn't sure what they looked like. But if I knew who I was going to meet with, I could go look on LinkedIn ahead of time, then I knew this is the way I need to tailor it. So it's no different. Let's go before anybody learned this. You go look up your customers and go, okay, where do they live? Are they part of any charity organization? What do they post about on social media? And you could bring those things up.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's learning to tailor the message for the person, because I know what I want to say, but that's not what's important. It's how would they best understand what I'm going to say. And that's where it was a game changer for me. And so
totally transforming the conversation.
absolutely, yeah. So I went from being an introvert on the help desk to regional vice president of sales with a $40 million book of business. And it was because when I learned to focus on people and not my product, things got better. Because the worst thing, if you're selling anybody anything and you can have the best product, but if you can't communicate that to the customer, it doesn't matter. And the problem in our industry, and when I say that, sales and services as a whole, is we get commission breath because we know our product's so good that we're just trying to tell them, well, this is why we're the best, this is why we're the best. But when you're saying it from your perspective, you're not helping them, right? So it's no different than I gave the analogy on stage. When I used to go to other countries, at first I'd only speak English and assume they have to speak English too. That's the wrong way to approach it. When I'm going to their language, a common courtesy is learn basic phrases to speak their language, and then they're going to try and speak my language at the same time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there an element of this that is just, do you think, the fact that you're even thinking about this at all and you're investing in what the other person is doing, is there an element of just the fact that you've given that amount of attention to somebody? That's
absolutely.
There's huge benefit in that too, right?
There is. So it's kind of like if you've done this and you go look up somebody proactively. So we'll talk both scenarios. Let's say I know who I'm going to meet with. If I go and I look them up proactively, I feel like I'm meeting with a long lost friend versus walking in cold.
Yes.
And then in a networking environment, I'm thinking as I'm walking across the room, instead of thinking, what's her name? What should I say? I start thinking, okay, high eyebrows, low eyebrows.
Is that your first port? Could you literally do that now?
Yeah.
Even in the room?
Just walking across.
Straight to eyebrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because eyebrows are easy to see from across the room.
Yeah.
And we mentioned in the book the like switch that we talked about in the course.
Yes.
That the first thing that inherently as humans we do is when somebody walks in a room, we look for eyebrows for intent. Mm-hmm. So if they squint down, they're a foe. If they raise up, they're a friend, because it's acknowledgement is raising eyebrows. Squinting is looking to evaluate. And I'm
struggling to I'm just conscious now of what I'm doing.
Well, and it's good, right? Because we don't know this, but if you read the book, The Like Switch, it was written by a former FBI agent who was over the behavioral analysis unit, and he was teaching everyone how to try and flip assets to come speak, or to come basically be a trader against their own country, right, and give us information. And so that's the first thing I tell them is when you walk in, raise your eyebrows up, tilt your head and smile. Because then you're unarming, you're seen as a friend versus a foe. And it's funny because after reading that book, I'm like, now I understand why earlier people thought I was so angry. And that's because I didn't know I needed glasses until I went to go get PRK done, which is like LASIK, but they don't have to cut your eye.
Yes.
And I was in one time and somebody's like, man, it's not that bad. I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And I didn't realize I was squinting a lot. And so after I had LASIK done, I seemed more approachable because I wasn't always constantly going like this. And it was just because I didn't realize I was squinting to try and see far. And so now when my eyes were open, people are like, oh, hey, you're way more approachable now. I'm like, oh, that makes sense after reading the book.
Suddenly people want to have conversations with you
yes.
again. That's quite life-changing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you, while you were presenting on stage, I was thinking about the implications for AI. I don't know if you've even looked at this at all, but I mean, because this is all about analysis, and I was thinking of a crowd, you could almost get to the point where if you had a photo of the crowd and the analysis tools, have you looked into this at all?
Well, no, but it's funny you say that. So everybody who's going to look this up, it's something called physiognomy. And so physiognomy is what it's based on. It's been around since the Greeks, but the very first line of it says the pseudoscience of it, and everybody stops reading there. But if you actually go through the entire article, it says that it's coming back into popularity in research because of facial feature recognition software and AI. They're looking back into it to see how much of this can be applied and used like that. So I was recently going somewhere, and there's a new dating service, and I cannot think of the name. It's on my laptop downstairs because I want to contact the company.
Okay.
But they say they will match you up with someone based on your facial features and figure out what you'll have in common or not. And you can do that to a degree. Now, here's the thing is, we're all subconsciously analyzing features all the time. So I mentioned it on stage. Every book we ever read, every cartoon we've ever watched has told us who somebody is based on their facial features. So every book you had to read that was required reading as a kid, they didn't have a picture for every single character, but the authors of those books took courses in physiognomy to do character development. Oh, I'm gonna have the evil uncle here, I'm gonna have this. And so we've been subconsciously trained, what if somebody has a downturned nose, an a pointed chin, or some of these features. And so to a degree, when we see someone, we have an idea of who they are. And that's why if you've ever read a book and they hire the most popular actor instead of what it was like in the book, we dislike the movie.
Because it painted such a good picture.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or like I showed you on the PowerPoint, I can show a picture of a face and go, is this a hero or a villain? And everybody's like, oh, well, that's the hero. Oh, well, that's the villain. Why is that? There's certain facial features that we see that we associate with good, bad, whatever. Now, it doesn't mean if somebody has like angled eyebrows that they're a villain. So angled eyebrows, just going back to it, so there's straight eyebrows, get straight to the point.
Yes.
Rounded eyebrows, think about the people around them. Angled eyebrows, what's my angle? Help me understand it. I got angled eyebrows when I became a corporate trainer. Well, what does a trainer have to do? They have to learn the material first to then teach it to others.
Okay.
So what's my angle is help me understand so then I can help other people. So the angled eyebrows by itself is not a bad thing. But if you had angled eyebrows and a pointy chin and a downturned nose, that's every devil, every witch, every demon that you see.
The combinations.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Can you give me a few more examples? What you're talking about? You're talking about the was the eye positioning, so the angle of the eye
Yes,
is
the
one to
angle
look
of
for
the
as well.
eye, yes.
This is all stuff you can look for. I mean, literally, you can take a LinkedIn photo and start to
Yes.
look at traits. It's fascinating.
So I used to sell to a very unique industry where people were very stoic and didn't share a lot of emotion. And so what I started looking at, and again, I've learned this, I didn't create this. This is something that was taught to me it's taught to some attorneys for jury consulting. And so if your eyes going from the inside of your eye to the outside of your eye, they can either angle up, even, or down. And so if they angle up, those are people who want to hear about the upside things. Tell me about the features, tell me about the benefits.
So you tailor it, for example, a sales pitch, you tailor it in that way.
Yes,
so
I would focus on the features and benefits first.
Yes.
If their eyes angle down, they're worried about the downside. Well, what have they not thought of? So I would talk about the challenges we had when building this product and why we made it the way we did. So for example, I used to sell phone systems and video visitation, things of that nature. Well, if it was, depending on what generation of the product it was, I'd say this isn't the first generation of the product. These are the things we learned in the field and things that failed in the past that we improved to the next time around.
Okay.
So I'm addressing the potential downside, letting them know we've had issues.
almost like it's not a negative attitude, is it? But they just want to be aware. They're worried about the.
What's the number one concern
potential.
with the salesperson telling you is it's BS, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's all just, they're only going to tell you all the great things about it. Well, if somebody's eyes angle down, I know I need to worry about the downside.
really right, yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with worrying about the downside. That's the whole reason we have QA departments. That's the reason why, if everybody just went with, oh, everything's going to work out great, then when something didn't work, nobody would think about it. So you can just think of people who are worried about the downside are, well, for example, this industry, cybersecurity, you have to worry about the downside.
Very much so.
Right? And so you have to think in terms of what could go wrong. So that doesn't make you a negative Nancy. That's proactively thinking, how do I keep things safe?
Okay.
So it's the same thing. So when you go in, you're selling to someone whose eyes are angled down, you don't go, oh, that's a negative person, I don't want to talk to him.
Yeah, it's not like that, is it?
Right.
I think you're
You
careful
just
with
go,
the wording.
Yeah, it's just, if their eyes angle down, they're worried about the downside, so you have to let them know you've thought about the downside as well. So the example we gave in the talk earlier is I just taught in whole offices full of solar panel installers, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, they go knock door to door. Well, the
that's quite brutal, isn't it, as an industry?
That industry it's a lot of no's before you ever get a yes.
Yeah.
And it's not often that we get guns pulled on us and stuff at work, but people who get knock on doors, that's a really real consideration, is they get a gun pulled, someone calls the cops, you name it. But so in that industry, well, when you talk about, okay, well, I want solar panel on my roof, people think, well, they're going to damage my roof. So if you know that's a potential downside and you meet somebody whose eyes angle down, you can say, hey, you know what, I know we've talked a lot, you probably heard a lot about all the good reasons to get solar panels on your roof.
Yeah.
But I know a big concern with a lot of our customers are we going to damage your roof? No, our installers have gone through extensive training how to keep the integrity of your roof in place while we're installing our product. So I address the downside in a positive way.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it totally does. I'm trying to think it through in this MSP space. So when somebody's going in potentially, and they've got like perhaps the resistance might just be, well, why are you different to my other company? Why the other company that I'm working with? Perhaps.
Give me a common problem. What's a common problem in your industry
that
you help solve?
So for the customers themselves,
Yes.
It's probably modernisation of applications and things. So it's stuff like I've got a server on site, it costs me a lot of money, and I want to move it to the cloud, but I want to do it securely, and I'm really worried about, I don't get this whole cybersecurity area. Yeah. I need to find somebody who does understand cybersecurity.
Sure. So it's somebody who has a downward angle eye or an upward angle eye. Which way do we want to talk? You want to go down first?
Let's go down, I reckon.
Okay, let's go down.
It's the UK audience.
So what you can say is, okay, well, I know your first concern is that you're going to lose all your data. I'm going to wipe out everything you have. Well, listen, what we go through and we do is we don't just take your stuff offline and we put it in the cloud. What we do is we start building it in the cloud and we do regression testing. We move things over one piece at a time to make sure it's all working. So then you'll have a good product. Now, once you're on the safe side of on the cloud's infrastructure and all of your security is in place, we'll turn you up fully and we'll take down your other product. And the reason that when you're on this side, these are the additional features that you'll have when you're cloud-based versus being physically located in your data center here locally. Does that make sense?
I can see why you were good at this. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Listen, Brian, thank you so much for your time. I didn't realize I just kind of grabbed you off the sort of ad hoc.
Hey, we'll hop on a Zoom again. I don't mind doing this.
I would love to do that. I would love to, because I can't do this justice. I can't do your talk justice in the time.
We'll show a few slides. That way your people can walk away and they can be tactical. So yeah.
That'd be very cool.
Absolutely.
Would you like to do a quick, thank you so much. Yeah. I feel like, do you want to do a quick plug for?
Sure, yeah. Everything with me is Subtle Skills, so SUBTLE skills, or Brian Galke, GALKE. Like I said, I did everything under Subtle Skills. So Instagram's the biggest one.
Subtle Skills is the way to go, yeah.
122,000 followers there. On Facebook, I'm like 5,000.
Right, okay, fair enough. That's
the important part is everybody, I try and post several times a week. I should be doing it daily, and I don't. But if you go follow TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everything is Subtle Skills, and then you can learn along with me, because I post videos. I do shorts because that's the most popular right now. But then people can learn from there as well. And we offer coaching or training like this. So keynote speaker. Yeah. I get hired in by corporations to go do training, and I'm at different events around the town.
It's a fascinating area. I really want to go and learn more about it. Listen, can't thank you enough.
All right, thank you so much.
Cheers, Brian.